Lindsay Lohan movie Freaky Friday. Well, they're doing a sequel for it. The Flash movie is coming out, but how does it compare to other kind of multiverse-like movies like Doctor Strange 2 and No Way Home? We're going to talk about that. Jamie Foxx's health is coming up again in the news, and we're getting conflicting reports about what's going on with that situation. We're going to talk a little bit about the ongoing dispute between Disney and Florida, and the new comments that Bob Iger has just made about it. Apparently, Grand Admiral Thrawn is going to be now confirmed to be the main bad guy in the upcoming Dave Filoni live-action Star Wars film. Hogwarts Legacy has passed $1 billion in sales, and that's got Warner Brothers thinking about what other of their properties can they turn into video games. And also, Disney has announced that they're going to be merging in the content of Hulu into Disney Plus to make a one-app experience. That and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world: movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but giving you information and context so you can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or completely different from ours. Joining me in the room today, of course, we got Ray back there, Jen's in the back, we got Jonathan running the show, Chris Carr is here, and most importantly, you guys are here. Thanks for being here and making this show part of your day. And listen, guys, a little bit of housekeeping here. If you need a daily fix of the John Campea Show, but you can't be here to watch a YouTube video, good news, there's an audio-only version we simply call the John Campea Show podcast. Go find it on your favorite podcasting app of choice. Subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it. Also, after a couple of scheduling misfires this week, this afternoon, we are doing our Guardians of the Galaxy open spoiler discussion at 2:30 p.m. Los Angeles time. So you figure out whatever that time is in the time zone you are here. But yes, finally today at 2:30 p.m., we are doing our Guardians of the Galaxy open spoiler discussion. All right, guys. With all that down out of the way, let's jump into things with an off the top, and that one is this. Back in 2003, 20 years ago. It's 2003 is 20 years
gross.
ago.
Math is so mean.
It's just
Math is fucking cruel.
Time is a harsh mistress. 20 years ago in 2003, there was a little movie with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan called Freaky Friday that I admit I have not seen since the first time I've watched it. But it's considered a classic. Actually, a number of films have come out since that were very heavily inspired. Actually, there was Freaky just like 2 years ago, right? With
Vince Vaughn.
With Vince
and
Vaughn,
then,
that's right.
Catherine
And the girl from
Quantumania.
Yeah, she was also
and from Supernatural.
Right.
It's fun.
That was great.
This
It's
itself
really
is a
fun.
remake, though, right? I
Yes.
mean, Freaky Friday.
Yes,
was
that
it
in and
was
of itself
Jodie
is a remake.
Foster in the original one? Yeah.
Well, guess what? Since it's all the trend in Hollywood these days to go back to the nostalgia IP, it is now official. The Hollywood Reporter has announced and let the story come out that Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis are coming back to do a Freaky Friday sequel.
It's the beginning of the Lohan-assance.
The Lohan-assance is back, ladies and gentlemen. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter, who said the following. Disney is going back to the world of Freaky Friday. A sequel is in the works for the 2003 body swap comedy that starred Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis. The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed. Lohan and Curtis are expected to reprise their roles as a mother and daughter who wake up one Friday and find they have swapped bodies. Elise Hollander is penning the script to the sequel. All right. I'm going to be honest with you. The first time I read this, I thought, well, no movie has ever been necessary. This seems really unnecessary. I mean, I did not see the part of it. Now, I will confess that after giving it a little bit more thought, the potential humor, like you go back to that original Freaky Friday, the humor of a teenage girl now in the body of a fully adult woman and what complications and whatever that would cause, and vice versa. Well, now they're two different ages. Actually, Lindsay Lohan is probably as old as Jamie Lee Curtis was when they first made that movie, or close to it, if nothing else. But now there's different age ranges. Now a just regular, fully adult woman is now in the age of a senior citizen, and vice versa. There could be an opportunity for some interesting new humor. Look, I'm not going to lie and say that this interests me very much. It doesn't right now, but I could see why they take a swing at the bat at this. Anyway, Chris, are you one of these freakists, the Freaky Friday fans, and whatever they call
I don't
themselves?
like that.
I've heard of them running around these streets.
They're out in these streets.
Yeah.
But
They're
what do
mostly
you
in the
think
sheets,
about?
though.
Yeah, that's true.
What do you think about this news?
I think this is fun. I do really love Lindsay Lohan, and I wish her well, and I hope that she does well, because she had a really promising career back in the early aughts. She was really fabulous, and she was everywhere. And in this movie, she played guitar and she sang with a band. She sang the song Ultimate, and it was a fun little movie.
The delivery.
Thank you. So good for her if they want to do this. I'm not super jazzed about the idea here, just because I feel like it's going to be a whole bunch of look at me in a younger body jokes throughout, and I don't know how sustainable that is, right? As you know, because what is Jamie Lee Curtis, 60s or so? How old is she?
I don't know if someone can look that up. I'm not sure if she's immortal. Let's just say
That's
that.
very
Jamie
true,
Lee
because
Curtis
Jamie
is
Lee
immortal.
Curtis is timeless and gorgeous and wonderful.
She's 64 years old.
She's 64? Okay, thank you.
Missed it by 5.
So I'm wondering, though, if they're going to just do a whole bunch of things that are anti-actually how Jamie Lee Curtis really looks, because she's a babe. And I'm wondering if it's going to be a lot of like, oh my gosh, gravity's been so cruel to me, and now look at me in this younger body. And I don't know if I want to watch that for 2 hours. But I think there's the possibility of this being really fun. And the two of them apparently have stayed in touch, too, in real life, and are pretty close. So the fact that they get to work together again, I think that'd be nice for them.
When it comes to Lindsay Lohan, I admit I'm more of a Mean Girls
Oh, hell yeah.
kind of guy. And I'll tell you what, I don't know why I was on YouTube TV and going through some of the networks because I was looking for a basketball game. But I noticed that one of the networks was showing True Lies, which is my all-time favorite action film. It is my number one all-time favorite action movie. And as I turned it on, it just happened to be on that scene where Arnold was tricking her.
Oh boy.
And he's like, dance sexy and slowly. And I'm like, man, Jamie Lee Curtis was like it.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis was totally it. Anyway, guys.
It should have been Kevin Hart and Shaquille O'Neal. No, what did you? No, never mind.
Well, no, because they already kind of did that with Kevin Hart in frickin' what do you call it?
He did a Switch movie, like a Switch
well,
movie.
Jumanji was kind of like
Oh,
that in
yeah,
a way.
you're right,
right?
you're
So
right.
they
Got
kind
that
of already did.
Freaky Friday kind of trope. Of
Yeah, so a
being
little
in a
bit
different
there.
body.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? They are doing a sequel to Freaky Friday. Are you interested? Listen, I'm not, but I will say from an executive point of view, I would get why you'd take a swing at the bat at this. I know maybe it can work. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With our off the top out of the way, let's get into our main topics here today. And how do we select our main topics? Well, once again, we do it by hearing it from you guys. You guys come up with our main topics. Whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story, simply go on over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. You'll see a form there. Fill it out with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the show. And our first question here today is asking a little bit about how The Flash stands up to other multiverse movies. Chris, what do we got?
From RFD. Hey, John and crew. I know you saw The Flash at CinemaCon. Sorry, Chris. I'm not. And I was wondering how this film stacks up against other recent multiverse movies like No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness. The Flash has been my most anticipated DC movie of the past few years, except for The Batman. So I have high hopes. Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right. Thank you so much for writing that in. And yes, we saw Flash a few weeks ago at CinemaCon. I went into it with high expectations because you got James Gunn saying he thinks it's one of the best comic book movies ever. We had heard for 6 months, we were talking on the show about how we were talking to people connected to it that said it was pretty fantastic. So we go into it and watch it, and it exceeded all my expectations. Andy Muschietti did a tremendous job with this movie and told a wonderful story that had some emotional hook. Not as much as some other films, but exceedingly fun. An exceedingly fun, but also, again, emotionally resonant kind of a movie that was just gangbusters. I loved it. I don't think it's one of the greatest comic book films of all time, but it is one of the great comic book films. It's absolutely fantastic. I will admit something, although I've said it on the show before. I'm so over, like every single buddy is doing multiverse now. Right? You got Spider-Man multiverse. You got Marvel is now in their multiverse saga. We got DC doing kind of multiverse thing. I'm really kind of over it, to be honest with you, even though I am dying to see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, but be that as it may. I would actually say this without giving anything away. Unlike, say, Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness, and unlike, say, No Way Home, Flash really is not a multiverse movie. It's any more than, say, Back to the Future was a multiverse movie. So it's really not. Now, I'm not going to go into the definitions about why I do not consider this to be a multiverse movie, although I think most people who've seen it would agree with me. But I will say this. I understand the comparison. Now, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was a movie I liked. It didn't live up to the potential that it had, and it wasn't as good as the first Doctor Strange, but I liked it. I liked Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I really like No Way Home. How does The Flash compare to those two more recent, very big Hollywood films? Flash is better than both of them, I think. I think Flash is better than both of them. Both as again, I don't want to call Flash a multiverse movie per se, but for the sake of our discussion, I'll use that terminology, okay? But The Flash, to me, is actually better than both No Way Home and Doctor Strange, both as a multiverse kind of film and as a movie overall. I think it beats both of them on both of those levels. Now, the best multiverse movie we've had in the last little while is, of course, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah. That is the best multiverse movie there is out there. But, I mean, when it comes to the comparison of the three, this one does it. Again, I think it has better action than the other two. I think it has better humor than the other two. I think it proportionally weighs out its stakes as presented to the audience better than the other ones do. I think it's a better directed movie than the other two. And the other two, I have no complaints about the direction of the other two movies. I just think this one is really well directed, like exceptionally well directed. So I would say in comparison, I would give the nod to The Flash over those two. So that's how I would compare it. Now, Chris, you have not seen Flash.
I've not seen Batman Flashpoint.
That's right. And you know what? That is, after seeing the movie, that would be an appropriate title for the movie.
I got that confirmation from Logan, too.
Yeah.
Like, you are correct.
I would say that would not be far off if the movie were called Batman Flashpoint. That being said, that was the one time that we were in Vegas that you actually had a
Yeah, I had to go teach.
Yeah.
Gladly, though. You guys were awesome.
So, but when you're looking at things like these multiverse movies, whether it's No Way Home, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, what sorts of elements of those movies do you think another multiverse movie like a Flash or whatever should improve upon or do maybe a little bit better of a job? Or what does a multiverse kind of movie need to do to work for you, do you think?
For me, I think we need to have stakes that actually resonate, right? That things that happen, losses that happen, permeate through these multiverses. And it's not just, well, we'll get another. Oh, well, we'll just start over. Well, we'll just do this.
Oh, Gamora died. No worry. Here's another Gamora.
Right. Because we have this idea, too, in comics as a whole as well, where people are never really permadead. And sometimes that can work. We love a reboot. We love to see people come back. It's really, really great. However, when it happens over and over again, and this is something that I do sometimes take, issue with some of the Marvel films and things like that of, oh, can somebody really die? That'd be a really emotional impact for me if somebody really, really died. But that being said, I think a lot of these multiverse films also, they kind of rely on the gimmick a little too much. I went into Multiverse of Madness really expecting some of those bigger world ramifications, something that really extends throughout the different universes and things like that. And ultimately, for me, this is a story that really is a more at-home kind of story, right? It really affects Steven, it affects Wanda. Throughout the multiverses, it affects Wanda on a very, very interesting and personal level. But there's not kind of this greater ramification to the universes, if you will. And I found that a little lacking. And from what I know of what happens in Flash, there seem to be some things that do have bigger consequences. And that's one of the things I liked about No Way Home, there were some big consequences across the board. So I'm hoping that I see more of that when we do multiverse stories.
It was pretty fun sitting there and watching Logan describe and reenact the entire movie of Flash for you. Okay, so then this happened, and then he said this, and he said, "Well, wait a minute there." Like, yeah, that was an entertaining.
It's great.
Yeah, that was really good. Anyway, guys, question is for you: What do you think about this? What do you think The Flash needs to do for you as an audience member that would let it exceed that of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Spider-Man No Way Home, that sort of thing? Whatever you guys think about that, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into our next question here, shall we? And the next one is about Jamie Foxx and what's going on with his health. Chris, what do we got?
This is from the HannahCast. Hey, John and crew, we all love Jamie Foxx. Not really a hot take. But as we know, he had some health problems last month and he was sent to the hospital. We all thought he'd be okay, easy peasy. But now his family is apparently fearing for the worst. I'd be so sad if we lost Jamie Foxx. He's far too young. What are your thoughts?
All right, thanks a lot for writing that in. And yeah, this one is a very odd situation. It's very odd. Jamie Foxx is one of the hottest stars in Hollywood. You can put him in action. You can put him in comedy. You can put him in drama. He won an Academy Award for drama. You can put him in something like Collateral, which some people think might be his best movie that he did with Tom Cruise. You can put him in something like Ray, which he won an Academy Award for. You can put him in something like Django Unchained, which I don't remember. I don't think he was nominated for an Academy Award for that, but he could have been.
Should have been.
He was absolutely fit. And God, whenever we talk about Jamie Foxx, people bring up all those other movies. Nobody brings up Baby Driver. He's so good in Baby Driver.
Great in Baby
He's
Driver.
so fantastic
Yeah.
in that movie. And he's got action hero written all over him. He's got this new movie coming out with Cameron Diaz that I'm kind of excited to see. He wasn't able to finish shooting it because of the health issues, but they apparently were done most of the heavy lifting with his role, so they used a body double just to finish off stuff, if I remember correctly. But the stuff with his health has been confusing. That this megastar, who's right in the midst of his career, giving us great and sometimes not so great entertainment, right? He doesn't write the movies. He just appears in them and does the best job he can in them. But, we got a report last month that, of course, very suddenly and unexpectedly, he had to be rushed to the hospital. And everybody was like, oh no, like what's going on? Then reports came out that he's recovering. Okay, great. But they never actually said, nor do they need to, because there's such a thing as privacy, whether you're a celebrity or not. But they decided never to actually disclose what the specifics were about his health issue. And that's fine. They shouldn't have to do that. It's his own personal medical issue. But it left fans feeling very nervous. And then the longer this has gone on, it's made people more nervous. Like, what condition will keep you in the hospital this long? Now, whenever you got a situation like this, the yap birds are going to come out of the woodwork. And I have literally read two completely opposite reports in the last little while. The one report, which is getting all the headlines because it's the sexier report because it's dramatic and negative, is this thing that the family is preparing for the worst. This comes from Hypebeast, who wrote, despite these positive reports, Foxx is still hospitalized, and the lack of information and general updates have led many to theorize about his condition, with some news outlets even providing live updates. One report said that Foxx's condition was dire when he entered the hospital on April 12th, and noted an unnamed source saying, but he wouldn't be in the hospital this long if he was anything close to okay. His friends and family are hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst. And that last part, his family and friends are hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst. That is the snippet that's run across the internet. I want to point out, though, and by the way, that might be true. It might be true. But I want to point out the first part of the quote. But he wouldn't be, where am I? Right there. But he wouldn't be in a hospital this long if he was anything close to okay. That tells me that whoever this anonymous source is doesn't actually know anything. That looks like somebody who's speculating and trying to figure it out. He wouldn't be in hospital this long if he was anything close to okay. So I don't know who they're quoting, and I don't know where this is coming from. But the person saying that now saying, oh, but the family and friends are hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. Again, it might be true. It might be. The problem is just 2 days ago, I read a report in Yahoo News. They're claiming their source saying he's recovering nicely and they think he's going to make a recovery and he's recovering. That was just 2 days ago.
This sort of reminds me of when Renner was in the hospital, and they interviewed family members, and they were like, he's okay, I guess. He might have to lose a leg. And
people didn't really know.
Yeah. That's what this reminds me of.
And that's what happens when we as the public, not even the fans, but we as the public, when we don't have information we are not, entitled to. But when we don't have information we're not entitled to, we speculate.
Maybe
that's human.
Yeah, maybe they're just trying to fish an answer out.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's like a bait.
Or just trying to get attention.
Or yeah.
I mean, or it's real. But we as people speculate when we don't actually have information. And that's fine. That's human for us to do. The problem is when our speculation becomes misunderstood for fact. Mm-hmm. And so it's a dangerous situation. So look, am I concerned about Jamie Foxx? Yeah, I said on this show last week that the fact that he's still in hospital, I mean, he's been in hospital twice as long as I was when I had a heart attack. So yeah, as a fan of Jamie Foxx, that makes me concerned. I'm worried. Yes. But now we're seeing all these opposite guys. Again, it always goes back to this. When you read a story, look at the source and don't just read the one-line summary. Read the context. Because again, like this one here is, but he wouldn't be in hospital this long if he was anything close to okay. I mean, this kind of tells me that maybe this isn't the most reliable thing and we shouldn't be holding vigils just yet. Hopefully not. Anyway, Chris, you read about this. What's your take on this?
I mean, historically, Jimmy Foxx has been an incredibly private person.
Yes.
All of his interviews involve a lot of jokes, talking about his co-stars, talking about the process of making his films and everything. Very little about his private life. I mean, we've all speculated he was with Katie Holmes for almost half a decade or so, about 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no confirmation from any of them of just, well, that's none of your business. And so I feel like it's just right on par with how he's led his life. It's a very private one. And like anyone's medical history, it's none of your goddamn business.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? There are news outlets reporting completely opposite information from each other. Obviously, all of us are fans of Jamie Foxx and we're all nervous and stuff like that, but don't let the nervousness that we have allow us to start grappling onto wild speculation that's out there. We'll see what's going to happen. Whatever you guys feel about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's take a moment and head over to our Mint Mobile hotline question of the day, brought to you by our friends at Mint Mobile. If you guys have a question for the show and would like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and call that hotline number anytime 24/7 at 951-268-4259. We'll pick one or two a day and listen to them off. And this one is asking about the ongoing, let's say, conflict between Florida and Disney. Check it out.
Hey, John, this is Alan. I know you don't like to talk about all the TMZ stuff and all that type of things, but I was just wondering if you saw Bob Iger's recent comments. I think it was an investor's call or some sort of call in which he clearly was making, I think, a few threats, and he clearly was stating his position against the governor of Florida. And while he said they won't move out of the state of Florida, he talked about their investments and a whole bunch of other things. I was just wondering if you could give your thoughts on Bob Iger's recent comments, and do you think it's possible they could actually leave the state of Florida or maybe reduce their investments in Disney World by chance? Thanks. Love to hear your thoughts.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling that in. And look, this whole thing is something we've never talked about here on the show, but now questions are coming up about how will this affect the entertainment industry? How will this affect the Disney company and whether they will shoot, film, continue to have a theme park and all that kind of stuff in Florida? And now with these types of questions coming up, it garners our interest. For those of you who haven't been following the drama, this is the very quick, what do you call it, guys? Call it Cliff here again? Notes. Cliff Notes. Well, I mean, they're really called Cole's Notes, but here are the Cliff Notes. Here's a quick oversimplification of the Cliff Notes.
That was cute.
Or the Cole's Notes, sorry.
That's cute.
So Disney, along with 2,000 other, I should say, areas in Florida, enjoy kind of this designation of a self-governance kind of thing. They got a plot of land that they're kind of, in a way, get to function as their own government over. It's a special designation. But it's not just Disney. There's over 2,000 others that have that kind of designation in Florida as well. Well, back in 2022, the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, they decided to pass a bill that has become known as the Don't Say Gay bill, right? Now, eventually, Disney, under the time of the CEO, Bob Chapek, who was CEO at the time, came out firmly against it and vocalized that, they will try to change hearts and minds and try to get that law overturned at some point, which is the right of every individual, organization, and even corporation in America to do and say that we don't like this law. We want to try to get it changed. That's the right of every individual, group, and even corporation in this country to do. Now, right after that happened, Governor Ron DeSantis started to make moves against Disney in retaliation for speaking out against his bill to take away Disney's special designation rights over that plot of land they've got in Florida. Now, it should be clear to say that Disney broke no laws. They didn't do anything, and never was there any discussion about taking away Disney's special designation prior to speaking out against the law that was being passed in Florida. That was it. And it should also be pointed out the government is not allowed to retaliate against people for expressing an opinion. If Disney had broken some laws, if Disney had physically done something wrong or incorrect, it would be understandable. But Disney didn't do anything other than express that this is wrong. They believed that the law they were passing in Florida was wrong. That's it. Now, look, whether you agree or disagree with the laws they were passing in Florida is completely irrelevant to this conversation. The bottom line is any individual group or even corporation should be allowed to the simple act of expressing, saying out loud that we think that this is right or we think that this is wrong. And the fact of the matter is that Florida, in pure juvenile, petulant vengeance, decided to retaliate against any entity that dare speak against it. Now, Bob Iger, Big Papa Iger, one of the most powerful guys in America, really, decided to make this statement the other day. It was part of an investor's call. This comes to us from Variety. He said this. Bob Iger said, regarding Florida, I have a few things I want to say about that bill, Iger said. First of all, the case that we filed last month, of course, because Disney is now suing the state and suing Ron DeSantis for attacking their First Amendment rights to express their thoughts and opinions without fear of reprisals. And he goes, first of all, the case that we filed last month made our position and facts very clear. This is about one thing and one thing only, and that's retaliating against us for taking a position about pending legislation. And we believe that in us taking that position, we are merely exercising our right to free speech. Also, this is not about special privilege or a level playing field or Disney in any way using leverage around the state of Florida. Now, this part becomes very, very important. But since there's been a lot said about special districts in this arrangement that we had, I want to set the record straight on that too. There are about 2,000 special districts in Florida, and most were established to foster investment in development. We were one of them. It basically made it easier for us and others, by the way, to do business in Florida. And we built a business that employs, as we've said before, over 75,000 people. I believe Disney is the number one employer in the state of Florida and attracts tens of millions of people to the state. So while it's easy to say that the Reedy Creek Special District, that's Disney's district, that the Reedy Creek Special District, which was established for us over 50 years ago, benefited us, it's misleading to not also consider how much Disney benefited the state of Florida. Now, he also goes on to say this. Florida has tried to make the case of, it's just that these special districts, it's not good for the state. So Disney's like, that's cool. How come we're the only one you're attacking? Mm-hmm. Now, they just also filed some stuff in a suit where they pointed out in Ron DeSantis' own book where he basically admitted, yeah, we're going to hit back at Disney for speaking against us. They're going to lose this case. They're completely going to lose this case. Again, I'm not talking about the legislation. You may agree with the legislation that this whole thing is about. You may disagree with what the whole legislation is about. I'll be honest with you. I have several shades of gray myself about how I feel. I think I'm a little too conservative for liberals and a way too liberal for conservatives myself, but that's irrelevant. I don't care whether you're talking about the Don't Say Gay bill or wear red on the 4th Tuesdays of every month bill. I don't care. If you just say something, you shouldn't have to fear the government retaliating against you just for saying it. Now, that brings us to the question at hand about could Bob Iger, who employs 75,000 Floridians, that represents about $4 billion in salaries and revenue for individual people in Florida, and about $2 billion a year in tax revenue that goes to Florida, and does heavy investment in the area. They shoot some stuff in Florida. They do some production in Florida, all that kind of stuff. Could Bob Iger at some point say, you know what? Screw you then. And literally upheave everything Disney out of Florida and move out of town, taking billions of dollars in tax revenue and almost 100,000 jobs out of state because there's already other states lining up and trying to court Disney saying, hey, if you're looking for someplace else for Disney World, we got open doors. Is that something Bob Iger will do? A lot of people are speculating today that's what Disney's going to do. I'm here to tell you they will not. They won't. And I'll tell you why they won't. It's not because it's a big pain in the ass. You know how much of a pain in the ass it would be to try to upheave Disney World and move it out of
You
state?
just get like a U-Haul.
Yeah. This ain't fixer upper. You know, this isn't celebrity whatever where they just slap your house on a flatbed truck and move it somewhere else. It would be a big pain in the ass, but that's not even the reason.
Literally disassembling an entire city.
Yeah. Like literally it would be. But that's not why Disney won't move. Here's why Disney won't move. It's the same reason that the tree doesn't worry about its dispute with the squirrel. Bob Iger knows Disney has been around long before Ron DeSantis was ever born. And they know they're going to be there long after Ron DeSantis dies. Long after any of us die. They know that they are the eternal city. They know that. And what Disney is not going to do is make some radical in the moment business decision when they know, you know what? We have an unfriendly government to us right now, or a government that we are unfriendly towards right now. And in 3 years, we might not. And then in 12 years, we might have another government that we're not friendly with. But then 16 years from now, we will again. And Disney knows that. The tree knows I'll be here long after the squirrel is gone.
They ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere. And,
Donald, he's fierce.
hey, maybe we have to deal with 3 years, 6 years, 8 years of a pain in the ass. But what we've seen in culture and in America and in our countries is that everything flows back and forth all the time. And Disney knows that. And so that's why when you ask the question, do I think that Disney will ultimately change the way they address their entertainment business, their theme park business, all that kind of stuff, and all the investment and all the people they employ in Florida, do I think they're going to change over all that? In the scope of over a century, 2 or 3 years, I really don't think they're going to make any change. I really don't. Anyway, Chris, I mean, I've gone on about this thing. I laid all the context here, but I mean, do you think there could be any chance that Iger and Disney just decide we're going to uproot everything and move out of Florida? I mean, a lot of people seem to think that's something they might do.
I've heard talk about that too. And honestly, a lot of this just comes down to physical environment. Where else can you operate an outdoor park 12 months out of the year with very little weather impact, right? California, we're pretty expensive though.
Yeah.
Texas, very humid. Florida's a really, really great place. They turned all this swampland into this wonderful, wonderful city, as you said. And it is a city. I am a former Disney World employee. There are underground tunnels. Everything you're on in Magic Kingdom is on the second floor. It is a huge infrastructure. I really don't think they're going to bury the hatchet here either, though. I think there is going to be some kind of reckoning. First of all, regardless of how you feel about any of this from a political standpoint, it's never a good idea to publicly infringe on someone or a company's First Amendment rights. That's never a good idea. And secondly, to your point about the finance here, there was a 2019 study done, Newsweek posted about it. It was done by someone at Oxford, where Disney annually generates $75 billion plus 5.3, I think, additional billion in state funding, or taxes and everything. The tourism is such a huge part of Florida's economy. And obviously that's not just Disney, but boy howdy is Disney the biggest part of that. Okay.
Yeah, they said Iger just said 10 million a year. 10 million tourists a year come specifically for Disney World in Florida.
And the average is
they
that
spend a
each
lot
of
of money.
those tourists pays about $1,000 when you add it all up and average it out. So it's just not a smart move in general when this company provides so much of your state's funding at the end of the day. So I don't know if I would get into a fight with the House of Mouse. I don't think I would, especially when those many dollars are on the line, because this really does just feel like a big political stunt at the end of the day, and it's not a smart one.
Well, I mean, let's also call a spade a spade. The charge is being led by the governor there, who is trying to score points because he's going to be in a very hotly contested nomination battle with another person in his party that he probably isn't going to win. So, I mean, he's probably not even going to get the Republican nomination, but that's what he's trying to do. He's going to try to use Disney as a way to score as many political points as he can for people within his own party to try to score the nomination. And it looks like at every time he's tried, Disney has outsmarted him. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see how this all goes. Guys, question is for you. What ultimately do you think is going to happen with Disney, its entertainment, its theme parks, all the money and the investment and their involvement in the state of Florida? I really don't see them going anywhere because they're a century-old company that doesn't really think in terms of 3 to 5 years. They think much longer. Or, hey, listen, maybe people get hot enough under the collar that they do decide to do something drastic. I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still have a couple of big topics to cover here. Grand Admiral Thrawn is going to be the main bad guy of an upcoming Star Wars movie. Hogwarts Legacy crosses $1 billion in sales. Hulu merging into the Disney Plus app. We're going to talk about all that stuff in just a second, but first we're going to take a moment and thank a couple of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at Manscaped and Rocket Money. We want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Summer's coming. Are you ready to unveil your beach bod? Manscaped is here to ensure your body is ready for the wild with their game-changing full body grooming and hygiene products. It is time to get ready for summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code Campea. Guys, you know, I've been using Manscaped products for a while now, and I love starting every day feeling cleaner, fresher, and way more comfortable. Manscaped is dedicated to helping you increase your confidence and level up your full body grooming game with the Performance Package 4.0. The kit comes with the Essential Lawnmower 4.0, waterproof cordless body trimmer, and a ton of other liquid formulations to round out your grooming routine. Inside the Performance Package, you'll also find the Manscaped Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner, an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer because we know how painful chafing can be when you're wearing your bathing suit all day. And no one likes nose hair, so their package also comes with the Weed Whacker 2.0. You also get 2 free gifts, the Shed Travel Bag, a $39 value, and the patented high-performance reduced chafing Manscaped Boxers. Get 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com/Campea and use the code Campea. That's 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com/Campea and use the code Campea. Trim your chesticles with the besticles. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Rocket Money. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions. Think about that. If you think you're only subscribed to a handful of services, you might want to double check. With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify and cancel all of your unwanted subscriptions. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want and don't even use. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. My wife Ann and I moved out of Burbank 2 years ago, and one of the first things I discovered when I loaded up Rocket Money was that I was still paying for a gym membership I haven't even been to in Burbank in 2 years. So stop throwing away your money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea. You know, if you're hanging out in humid Florida, you don't want them sweaty balls. So thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this episode. And of course, our friends at Rocket Money.
So glad I turned the mic on.
And hey, guys, listen, don't forget, when you go and check out and support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So if you look down in the description of this video, you'll find links to all of our sponsors and promo codes. And thank you again to Manscaped and Rocket Money. All right. With that down, guys, let's get back over to our remaining main topics here. And this next one comes in asking about Grand Admiral Thrawn. Chris, what do we got?
From Randall. Hey, John and crew. So I'm probably a little older than many of your regular viewers, as I was already in my 20s when the Heir to the Empire books came out, introducing us to Grand Admiral Thrawn. I loved these books, and I love this character. Just saw that Dave Filoni has confirmed what you were speculating, that Thrawn will be the main villain of the upcoming Mandoverse movie he'll be directing. What do you think of this decision? Thank you.
All right, Randall, thanks a lot for saying that in. And yeah, so give this a little bit of context for those of you who don't know. So they announced at Star Wars Celebration that Dave Filoni will be directing a live action movie that will kind of serve as the conclusion of the Mandoverse story, which is basically the Disney Plus shows that take place after the events of Return of the Jedi. So Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, things like that. They're all building up to something they're going to do as a movie event. Now, I've got some thoughts about making that a theatrical movie event based off of TV shows. But that aside, it's kind of exciting that Dave Filoni is going to be doing his first live action direction with a movie. That's pretty interesting. Now, one of the big things of speculation that started going around, and we speculated on the show as well, was that when this movie comes around, it's probably going to be Grand Admiral Thrawn will be the big bad guy. Now, Grand Admiral Thrawn was first introduced in the Heir to the Empire book series that was an unofficial sequel to Return of the Jedi. Like what happened after the events of Return of the Jedi. The Empire was coming back in force under the leadership of this alien being, Grand Admiral Thrawn. And he was one of the best Star Wars characters ever. And then in Star Wars Rebels, the animated show, they decided to bring back Thrawn. Now, it's not the same Thrawn from the books because the books were no longer canon, but they reintroduced Grand Admiral Thrawn, and he's terrific. Then they put out some new books with Grand Admiral Thrawn that's supposed to be in canon with everything else going on in Star Wars. And now we found out that he's going to be the bad guy in the movie. We heard Ahsoka reference Grand Admiral Thrawn in an episode of the series. And so we know they're building up to that. He's going to be the big bad guy. Of course, he's first going to appear in the Ahsoka television series. And now Dave Filoni himself has confirmed that it is indeed the bad guy in this big movie that's going to kind of bring to a conclusion the whole Mandoverse thing is Thrawn. Dave Filoni said this. This comes to us from Screen Rant. He wrote the following. Speaking in Empire magazine, Dave Filoni was asked whether Grand Admiral Thrawn is the big bad of the New Republic timeline, to which the director answered, definitely, in my eyes. Filoni went on to describe what makes Thrawn such an iconic villain, noting that he is not another helmet-wearing, lightsaber-wielding bad guy. The New Republic era goes from Return of the Jedi's ending to Star Wars The Force Awakens. Therefore, Filoni's answer confirms that Thrawn is Mandoverse's big bad. Considering that Filoni's The Mandalorian movie is the culmination of the Mandoverse and the New Republic era, the director's response also confirms that Thrawn will be the Mandalorian movie's villain. So there we have Dave Filoni's basically saying, yep, Thrawn's going to be it. And I'll tell you what, it's terrific. I love this character. And the characters that are smarter than you, to me, are always the best villains. And that's the thing about Thrawn. Is he physically imposing? Yes. But his deadliest weapon is his intellect. He is smarter than everybody else. I remember reading the books, the Heir to the Empire books. One of the things that caught everybody's imagination instantly was one of the things that made him such a great military strategist is before attacking a world or a civilization, he would study their art. Because he believed that in studying the history and the culture's art, you can know everything about a society and everything about a culture and everything about a people. And he would use that information that he gleaned from their art as a way to devise tactics to ultimately dominate them and whatever.
That is very chilling when compared to World War II history of all of the removal and destruction of art to eradicate cultures.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
Star
treasured art.
Wars. Oh,
He saw huge value in art.
Man.
And just that, he's Sherlock Holmes of Star Wars, right? Which is absolutely incredible. Now, the one thing that I've always wondered about, for those of you who watch Clone Wars and also read the new Thrawn books, there are 6 Thrawn books out now that are supposed to be in canon, is that Clone Wars and the books, even though they're supposed to be in the same universe and in continuity with each other, those two things portray Thrawn very, very differently. In Clone Wars, he's kind of a more traditional villain in the sense that, I'm a bad guy because I'm bad. I'm smarter than you too. Like, he's kind of that. But in the books, he's not a bad guy. He's a guy who is on the Empire's side, but often in the books, he's portrayed as having a sense of honor, a sense, even a sense of morality, a sense of right and wrong. And they come across a little bit differently between the book version of him and the animated version. So I'm very, very curious as to which way Dave Filoni. Now, Dave Filoni didn't write the books. He did write Rebels. So I'm going to assume that Dave Filoni is going to go more with the Rebels style version of Thrawn. But I really do hope he incorporates more of that novel version of Thrawn. Because again, to me, having somebody who's not just a traditional mustache twirling bad guy, but rather just somebody who is your antagonist. Like whether he's a good guy or bad guy, he's the guy you're against. That to me makes it a little bit more fascinating. Anyway, Chris, we read about this. Filoni seems to have now confirmed that this character that we're about to see in Ahsoka, Grand Admiral Thrawn, is going to be the bad guy of the movie. What do you take away from this?
I mean, my biggest thing that I'm excited about is we just get more of Lars Mikkelsen, because I think he's an incredible actor. He did so great doing the voice of Thrawn on Rebels and everything. He's wonderful. He's fantastic on The Witcher. So more of him, I'm all for. I am not familiar with the books like you are, but I am hoping, based on what you've said, that it is taking some liberties from those books, because we do need to change things. We go from medium to medium, right? We do need to kind of make some adaptations, make some changes, and to have him be that mustache twirling villain isn't as intriguing. To have him have a moral code and compass while still committing some atrocities, because that's when I like Star Wars a lot, is when we get into that morally gray area where we view things and go, maybe the Sith and the Jedi aren't just a complete binary idea of good and evil. Maybe there's room between, and maybe both sides also do things that are wrong. Hey, maybe on the side of the Empire, there were people who believed fully with righteous conviction that this is the best thing for the galaxy and didn't do this out of malice or hate, but because they thought this would better things for their people. I really enjoy when we explore those aspects, because that's what the real world is like. No one ever views themselves as a villain. People view themselves in justified ways, and that the means always justify the ends. So that's always much more intriguing and much better writing when we have that kind of character, as opposed to, I am just evil, deal with it.
All right, guys, question is for you. Dave Filoni has confirmed that Thrawn is going to be the big bad of his movie. I mean, I guess now we know he doesn't die at the end of Ahsoka. That's okay. I'm excited about this. I think this is a fascinating character. I just really hope that Dave Filoni decides to glean and take some of that personality of Thrawn from the novels and incorporate that into his animated version of the character. Whatever you guys feel about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into our next topic here that has to do with Hogwarts Legacy crossing $1 billion and what that might mean for Warner Brothers moving forward. Chris, what do we got?
This is from Wayne. Hey, John. So like millions of other people, I bought Hogwarts Legacy and I absolutely loved it. It's everything a Harry Potter game should be if it's not seen in the era of Harry Potter. Anyways, did you see that the CEO of Discovery said Hogwarts Legacy sold 15 million copies, but also made over $1 billion? I think that's awesome. What do you think this means for the games going forward?
All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in, Wayne. Hogwarts Legacy is I'm not a Potterhead myself, but it is a pretty wildly, ludicrously beautiful, immersive game. Anne has been playing it, and I just sit on, in the theater room with her while working on other stuff, and I'll just watch her play the game, and it's gorgeous. It is really, really beautiful to look at, and it's got great characters in it. It's very immersive. The way you build up in the game, it's just a very, very well done thing, and it proves once again that people are not tired of Harry Potter. People might have gotten a little bit tired of Fantastic Beasts, but they're not tired of Harry Potter. And when they brought the world of Harry Potter back to the world of Harry Potter, Hogwarts, that's what people kind of identify with Harry Potter. You saw it exploded, and it has generated over $1 billion in revenue. Now, this has not escaped the attention of Zaslav, CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, who thinks this is, I love that picture so much, who thinks this is a terrific opportunity for them. This comes to us from game developer who writes the following. It's in a separate earnings report, Hogwarts Legacy was described as the largest release of all time for Warner Brothers games and the company's best-selling game year to date. Zaslav seems eager to replicate the success of Hogwarts Legacy and, in something of a ramble, suggested Warner Brothers might look to some of its other major properties in a bid to do so. David Zaslav said, "When we launch a product on Max or HBO, and when we have a game, that game belongs to us. But now there's this in-betweener. It may be in the next couple of years that we launch a Superman movie, and there's more economics of people just having out there in the Superman world and universe," commented Zaslav. So basically what David Zaslav is talking about here is like, we maybe need to start looking at this thing as a total ecosystem, right? We've got this Harry Potter brand that is so valuable in and of itself. And we were able to make this game that's made $1 billion. And by the way, the game itself, and I have been told that they are still indeed looking at developing a potential movie property for Hogwarts Legacy. And that the upcoming rebooted Harry Potter thing is not the limits of what they're looking at in this world, but that we maybe need to really marriage these things a little bit closer. Not in the same way that Atari made the E.T. video game, that infamously, they had to literally bury in the New Mexico desert 800,000 copies of the game because nobody bought it. That game was terrible, by the way. But rather something really interconnected. Not necessarily canon or anything like that, but it's like, if we can do this with Harry Potter, what if when we launch a Superman movie, we also launch this immersive Superman game? That's not just a cheap side scroller like a lot. Listen, every time a movie comes out, some cheap mobile game of it comes out. Yeah. Sure. But no, something AAA, something truly immersive and wonderful that gets people, more immersed into the world of Superman or Batman or Cyborg or whatever before we take it back over to the game port. It's a shift in philosophy for them, but they're realizing, hey, listen, when somebody comes up to you and hands you a check for $1 billion, you tend to look at the world a little differently after that happens. And it seems like that's what he's doing here. Anyway, Chris, you're reading these numbers. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are staggering. $1 billion in revenue for a game with $1 billion, multi-billion dollar property. How should David Zaslav look at this, and how could they maybe incorporate some of the properties that they have into a multi-medium sort of approach?
Well, first of all, I've got to eat crow here because when the game first came out, because of all the controversy and everything around JK, I was like, do people even want to play this? Is there still a market for this? And there is. So I was completely wrong on that one. People are really enjoying this game. And those people who have played it, I've heard really, really good things from it. I know Tom Felton recently did a playthrough of it, and that garnered some more attention. There's been new patches and stuff in. So good for them. That's really wonderful. If you're into this universe, you've got this whole new one to explore. And it does make sense to go back to Hogwarts as opposed to what we've seen with the Harry Potter franchise, where we've gone towards Newt Scamander, and we kind of even got away from the Fantastic Beasts. We didn't have many of those in the films.
No, it's true. Yeah.
And so this seems like a smart move where you're having a lot of success with something where it takes it back to the place where it all began, the supposedly safest place in the wizarding world. I still find that very, very odd. The woods are the detention area. There's a basilisk in the dungeon. I don't understand why you guys think that's safe, but hey, good for you. But if this is something that people are really, really enjoying, of course you would look to this. I mean, look at how we are looking at so many different video game properties in themselves too, and going, how do we adapt that for screen, for television, for film? How do we take that amazing story and we put it here for our audiences? certain other movies too have been able to do that inverse. Some of the Lord of the Rings spin-off games have been really, really fun. Those have been really, really cool, and I think they still hold up personally. But for the most part, yeah, you usually have a game that kind of syncs up with a movie. It tends to be trash.
Yeah.
It tends to not be very
They
good.
just push it out. It's just like
Exactly. Yeah, just get it out there.
Yep.
So I think having that kind of synergy is a really, really smart business move. And it feels almost, even though it's not going to be canonic, I think it does feel kind of like what James Gunn has been talking about and Peter Safran have been talking about with the DC universe.
Right.
Of having a bit more synergy between the comics, the games, and the media that goes out elsewhere. So I feel like it's a good move.
Let's get that Superman game going. We haven't
I
had
would love open world Superman.
Yeah, we haven't had a good Superman game. Like, do that and do some Godzilla game. A really good Godzilla, King Kong, Willy Wonka. I mean, you could have an adventure Willy Wonka where you're a kid and you're trying to get the thing. There's a bunch of properties they have I'm reading. So
do you remember a little while ago? What was it called? Unreal Engine 5? Is that what the latest one is?
that Superman demo.
Yeah. Did you
was
see
incredible.
that? For those of you who didn't see, you might want to look it up on YouTube, but somebody took that Unreal Engine and did an open world Superman demo where you literally could like just fly around Metropolis, right? As Superman. And that's all it was. All that video footage is so, but just watching that made me feel exactly what Ray's saying. It was just like, I want to play this Superman game now.
We've never had a good Superman game.
We really haven't.
And it sucks. He's one of the most iconic characters, especially in
I guess the
comic
problem though is just sort of like he's invincible.
Well, that's the same
So-
problem with trying to do a Superman movie, right?
Yeah.
So like even in
True.
Injustice Gods Among Us, it's like, well, what's the point of having a fighting game if Superman's one of the characters? Superman just beats everybody. I know.
Everyone and their
developed
mom
a
has
pill.
kryptonite.
They developed a
Exactly.
pill where everybody has the strength of Superman. And it's like, well,
Well,
okay.
well, maybe you start him when he's really young, and you have to win your powers or learn them as you go, and then it ends with full-blown Superman. But that would piss a lot of people
Maybe.
off.
But now we're
I don't
getting
even
way
get
off of
Superman.
Harry Potter. We're getting
Yeah.
way away from Harry Potter. His question is for you guys. What do you think about this? I mean, that game made over $1 billion and counting, by the way. They just introduced the port to PlayStation 4 for people who didn't have the 5. So that's there now. It's just going to make more money now. And how do you think Warner Brothers and David Zaslav should look to take lessons from that and maybe start to integrate that into their overall philosophical approach to their IP? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's do one more main story here, and it has to do with a kind of a bombshell announcement about Hulu and Disney Plus. Chris, what do we got?
If only you could see the graphic. Box office fan. Disney meeting was held today, and Iger confirms they are pulling in HBO Max and merging Disney Plus and Hulu. They also pointed out Hulu will also stay as a standalone app for those with the live channel plans or just want Hulu. Also note, Iger says some titles will be removed from Hulu. What titles? My guess, not owned by Disney stuff. Looks like Disney Plus is about to get more adult stuff from Hulu.
All right, thanks a lot for writing that in. And listen, this is actually a very complex situation that this may have just given us a little bit more insight into. Okay, so here's the thing. Everybody knows that Disney owns Hulu, but they only mostly own it. In my best Miracle Max, mostly dead. They only mostly own it
Good reference.
because Comcast, the owner of NBC Universal, still owns 1/3 of it. And guess what? In January of 2024, there comes a call put clause where basically it's this: either Comcast or Disney has to buy out the other with their interest in Hulu. Disney will have the option to pull the trigger and buy out Comcast's remaining interest in Hulu, but that analysts are thinking is going to run them somewhere around the tune of $9 billion to buy out the remaining 1/3 the Comcast owns. Or it can go the other way. They can sell their remaining interest to Comcast instead for the tune of about $18 billion. But that's been a big question. Is Disney going to really dive into Hulu, or are they going to divest themselves of Hulu? Well, in a new announcement yesterday, Bob Iger has basically told the world, we're going to start taking Hulu's content and merge it onto Disney Plus. Here's what Bob Iger had to say. This comes to us from the folks at Variety who said the following. On Disney's earnings call on Wednesday, CEO Bob Iger said that the company will soon launch a one-app experience in the U.S. that incorporates Hulu content into Disney+. The new combined offering will launch by the end of 2023, available to customers who subscribe to both streaming services, he said. While we will continue to offer Disney+, Hulu, and ESPN Plus as standalone options, this is a logical progression of our direct-to-consumer offerings that will provide greater opportunities for advertisers while giving bundle subscribers access to more robust and streamlined content, resulting in greater audience engagement and ultimately leading to a more unified streaming experience, Iger said. Okay, so as we interpret that gobbledygook, it's important to understand that in other countries around the world, this is already happening. In a lot of other countries around the world, Disney just has Disney Plus, and they have this other section on it called Star or something like that. It's different from market to market. And in that Star section is a lot of the content that we would have on Hulu out here. So in a lot of places around the world, Disney Plus already has a lot of that content. But here in America, it's been separated. We had Hulu as its own standalone thing. Disney Plus has its own standalone thing. And now Bob Iger is saying that they're going to take Hulu's content and put it on Disney Plus, and the price is going to go up. The price is going to go up. But if you don't want Disney Plus and you don't want that big higher price combined thing, they are still going to offer Hulu as its own standalone thing. That's still going to be there. So it's an interesting approach. And this has a lot of analysts thinking that, well, that's it then. Come January, Disney is clearly doubling down on their commitment to Hulu, that come January, Disney is going to buy out Comcast. And while I don't think it's 100% lock guarantee, I tend to agree with the analysis. When I look at this, it does seem to be, this is a clear thing, because why would Disney merge in all of Hulu's content, or at least the vast majority of Hulu's content, onto Disney Plus if in January they're just going to sell off Hulu and then lose all that content? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. This puts Disney Plus in the United States more in line with the way it works and functions internationally. Now, is this new Disney Plus with an increased price, am I going to be paying the same amount that I was paying for Disney and Hulu? Am I going to be paying a little bit less than I was paying for Disney and Hulu? Am I going to be paying more than what I was paying for Disney and Hulu? Not sure. But I do like the fact that a lot of this content will be under one roof. Mm-hmm. Chris, the big question for me, though, about all this is that, Disney Plus has been a very safe place that parents can let their kids open up the app. Hey, listen, you start putting Sons of Anarchy on the Disney Plus, which is what's going to happen now.
Teach them well and teach them young.
That's right. I mean, how do you think they're going to approach that? Are they just going to say, oh yeah, so here's the Star Wars section, here's the Pixar section, here's the Marvel section, here's the Hulu section, but you got to put in a parental code to open it. I don't know. What do you think about this move in general, and how do you see it evolving?
I think it's smart to streamline everything and put it under one roof. I think that makes it a lot easier, and then we don't have to think about all the various streaming things we have. I don't love the idea of spending more for that, though, right? To me, it's always, if I bundle, it's cheaper. That's what Flo from Progressive taught me, and I assume that's how all things go. So I'm hoping that this means that as I'm paying for these separate things, it is either equal to or less than what I was paying. I do think they might implement some kind of parental control here. I know that's been talked about with some of the other streamers in the past too. I don't know if they should just section it off though, and here's all the stuff you shouldn't watch, kids, because that's just like having a big red button that says don't press it.
Yeah, you can do a parental thing. Yeah. Netflix does too. You can do a code and all that.
Yeah, we've got the Netflix thing where you can do the kid code, so I think that could work here. The thing that I found the most interesting, honestly, reading this article though, was just that 33% stake that Comcast has in Hulu, and how Iger is being very coy about we don't know if we're going to buy out. I mean, streaming is very tricky right now. We have to see how much we want to invest and do all of this. Because at the end of this article, this is where I kind of got floored, thinking about how streaming has been often called not, a very valuable kind of thing, or at least something that people haven't gotten their returns on. The deal that they have here, where is this? Oh my goodness, I had just a second ago. I'm so sorry. There's a floor deal in here of the absolute value that Comcast would get. And it's something like 9.2 million or something, or billion. I can't remember. Billion. Yep. So, I mean, this seems like a pretty good deal for Comcast. Should Disney move forward with going, yeah, we want to take it. I know you didn't even have, like, you had a 33% stake in it. You weren't a majority shareholder, but here's several billion dollars for you. So it seems like
Comcast could use it.
Yeah.
But here's the other tricky thing about all this. It's kind of lost in the excitement of Hulu merging its content in with Disney Plus, was that Bob Iger also mentioned that even without the merger, they were going to increase the price of Disney Plus. Even if you want Disney Plus, because they're saying, Disney Plus right now at $10.99, which is 30% more expensive than it was when it launched. At $10.99, we need to make it a little bit more expensive to make it to give some kind of differentiating aspect between it and our ad plan at $7.99. They're too close to each other. So we're going to increase the price of the no ads thing to make it that much different, which will increase the value to the people using the ad plan. The problem is that line of BS. I mean, I told everybody that when they said they're going to launch an ad program so it could be cheaper than the regular Disney Plus, I said, no, they're not. They're not going to make it cheaper. They're going to make it so they can make the other one more expensive. Because the ad-supported plan right now is what we used to pay for the regular Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
It's the old retail trick of 20% off, but they don't tell you they raised everything 25% before the sale.
Exactly.
Yeah, when they 20% off after they raised prices 25% the day before. That's exactly what they did here. And now what we were paying for Disney Plus for $7.99 is probably now going to be $12, $13.99, which again, I still believe when you look at everything you're getting with Disney Plus, that is a very good value. Like if you watch a lot, especially if you have a family, if you watch a lot of the Disney classics and Pixar and Star Wars and Marvel, and you got all that library available at your fingertips for 50 cents a day, even if they put it up to like $15 a month, that's still a crazy good value. The problem, of course, becomes in the streaming reality we live in that, okay, that's great. We're paying $15 for that, almost $20 for Netflix, $15 for HBO Max, $12 for my Peacock, this for that much. And it's adding up. And now we're paying way more than we ever used to pay for cable. So we're going to have to start making some choices, I guess, as consumers. Anyway, guys, question is for you. It now looks like American Disney Plus is going to catch up with the rest of the world and have all this Hulu content just kind of wrapped into it. Do you think this is a good move? I still kind of like it because I like having everything under one roof if I can, but maybe you can see some downsides. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. At this point now, we're going to go over and start taking your questions. If you guys have a question for the show, just go on and head on over to our tip link anytime, 24/7, even if it's 3 a.m. Just go to streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And if you leave a question or comment that is appropriate to be used on our show, you'll see it read off here on the show. Now, before we get to those questions, though, we're going to take another moment and thank a couple of more sponsors of the John Campea Show today, our friends at MasterClass and my mobile service provider, Mint Mobile. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, MasterClass. With MasterClass, you can learn from the world's best minds anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. You can learn filmmaking from James Cameron himself, the guy who made 3 of the 4 biggest films of all time. Improve your writing by taking screenwriting from one of the greatest who's ever done it, Aaron Sorkin. Or maybe learn how to make great comedic content by taking comedy by the one and the only Judd Apatow. And many of you guys know I'm a big poker guy, and I recently got a chance to sit down and watch Daniel Negreanu, one of the greatest poker players in the world, teach poker. It was absolutely fantastic. But guys, whatever you're interested in, there is a class for you with over 180 exclusive classes taught by the instructors you know and love. And you can explore lessons in any order you'd like across your phone, tablet, Apple TV, computer, and on the go with audio mode. Individual lessons range from about 10 to 15 minutes in length that fit easily into your everyday life. Guys, I highly recommend you check it out. Get unlimited access to every class, and as a John Campea Show listener, you get 15% off an annual membership. Go to masterclass.com/Campea now. That's masterclass.com/Campea for 15% off Masterclass. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. From the gas pump to the grocery store, your utility bills and favorite streaming services, inflation is everywhere. Seriously, make it stop. Thankfully, there's one company out there that's giving you a much needed break. It's Mint Mobile. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know that ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been saving almost 70% a month over my old phone plan. For people looking for extra savings this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you again to our friends at MasterClass and Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that now down, let's get over to your questions that you guys have sent in. So, Chris, what are we starting off with here?
From Stacy's mom, who has got it going on.
I've heard she's got it going on.
She does. Have you guys read the CNN article suggesting that the studios could drag out the strike until at least July so they can cancel some of the expensive contracts they made with creators over exclusive rights to their shows?
I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at the strike. I thought, can you bring that up again for a second? When I just looked at the corner of my eye, I thought it says, have you read the Cum article?
Wow.
That's a very different. And I thought, how did that slip through
It was
our...
a Euro Pussy exclusive.
How did that slip through our moderators? Okay. Yes. The CNN thing. Yes. Here's the problem with that theory. The problem with that theory is every day that the strike goes on is costing the studios a lot of money. And if this thing drags on for a couple of months, it's going to cost them way more money than any savings they might get as a benefit of the strike. Like, by a lot. I mean, from what we were told, at least by the Writers Guild, the Writers Guild's proposition would cost the producers $400 and something million a year. They're going to lose more than that. If this strike goes on more than like a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months, all the member affiliates with the AMPTP are going to lose a lot more money than that. So I don't know that I buy that theory, to be honest. Listen, I'm not an economist. So I don't know. I'm not Jed Bartlett here. I don't know. But it seems to me they're going to lose a lot more money by doing something like that than they would save. So
plus, it stokes the fire of the other two, the Directors Guild and the Actors.
Oh yeah, then you're just going to piss off the Directors Guild, SAG, the whole bit. It's woo.
Well, and I know we've said a lot of really great things about David Zaslav's leadership here, but his comments recently too about like the strike will end when people's love for working and writing comes back. Ooh, out of touch, David, out of touch. That love of writing isn't going to be enough when your salary is what the entire WGA is asking for.
I don't see. That's the thing to me. This is the one part where I get a little bit disassociated from the WGA when I see them start bringing up other people's salaries. That's irrelevant to the conversation, and it shouldn't be relevant to the conversation. Keep the focus where you're going to have everybody on your side, which is you are not being paid. Because here's the reality: if David Zaslav was making half the money he's making, that wouldn't change. That would not change one bit what the writers are being made. It's not a cause and effect thing. So keep the focus of the discussion on what you deserve to be paid, period. It's irrelevant if David Zaslav is making $500 million a year or $50 a year. It's irrelevant what he's making because that's not going to change what you get paid. Keep the focus there because other than that, I think they're just making noise that is going to distract from the core issue.
Think it opens you up to the line of fire when you say, quote, the strike will end when a love of writing and a love of working prevails.
Oh, hey, listen, I get it. Listen, I think I'm not squarely on the writer's side, but in general, because I do think the AMPTP has made a couple of valid points. But overall, I lean way more towards the Writers Guild side on this. Yeah. And listen, make no mistake about it. I think the heads of all the studios and all the streaming services and all of them are a wee bit out of touch.
Yeah.
With the needs of what writers need to just do their jobs, do it well, and live properly. And they got to get this fixed. They got to get it fixed. All right, what's next?
From B. Wayne NY. So the Jurassic-style beginning of the Meg 2 trailer piqued my interest, but that Meg proof glass social media girl on the phone getting the Sam Jackson Deep Blue Sea treatment totally won me over. I think it'll have a bigger box office than the first Meg. Thoughts? Oh, yeah, I love this movie already.
I do think it'll have... Look, I didn't love the first movie, but this... Look, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you, this trailer's got me interested. I do think it'll make more money than the last movie. Yeah. I do, however, wish they didn't put that shot in the trailer. Because the great thing about the Samuel L. Jackson Deep Blue Sea scene is that scene almost... It might be my biggest jump out of my seat scene I've ever seen in a
That
movie.
might not even be in the movie. I don't think that's even in the movie. I think
Probably
that was just
not.
a trailer put.
Oh, you're talking about Meg.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm talking about the Samuel Jackson part, though.
No.
So, like, because that scene in Deep Blue Sea, when Samuel Jackson's making that speech, and, like, out of fucking nowhere, the shark comes out of the water and snatches him up. I don't know that I've ever jumped so high out of my seat in a particular scene in a movie ever. And I feel like that now we're going to be in the theater, we're going to know it's coming.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that listen, I get why the marketing department wanted to put it in because it's a great shot. I get it. But I do kind of wish they didn't put that in the trailer because now I've lost that moment that could have been on the same level as the Samuel L. Jackson Deep Blue Sea moment.
That feels like a really satisfying kill, too. Of just, oh, yeah, no, this vapid individual guts to go.
Yeah, we don't know anything about her, but I think you're right. We're probably going to be like, oh, yeah, this one can get eaten.
Yeah.
Just save the dog,
Save
but
the
eat that
dog.
woman.
Kick all the Megs in the face.
All right, what's next?
From Anonymous, one of two. It's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Hey, anonymous birthday.
Just wanted to say my friends and I had a great time watching you guys at Flappers the other day.
Oh, great.
Keep up the filthy, and everyone should check out Chris's VO class. It'll change your life.
Oh, that's from Zachary
Zachary.
Zarvos. Just forgot to
Okay.
put their name in the first one.
Yeah.
I was going to say, which one of you are you? Thank you, Zachary. Oh, Zachary is really, really sweet and very, very talented, too. And is in our armed forces, so...
Yeah, actually came up and spoke to me at the event and mentioned, I love Chris's voiceover class and all that kind of stuff. Again, thank you. First of all, happy birthday again. Thank you for coming to our event and to everybody who did. And I hope you have a fabulous birthday, man. All right, what's next?
Yay. From Timothy. Saw Guardians 3, and I'll be honest with you, I was kind of crushing on Mantis. Am I the only one who was really digging her throughout the movie? She's cute for an alien. Drax pisses me off because he doesn't realize how lucky he is to have her attention.
That is kind of what made, like in Guardians 2, the joke so funny when Drax would just talk about how hideous she was. It's like, by the way, if you don't know, the actress who plays Mantis is Pom Clemente. And I had the distinct, awesome privilege of sitting beside her at, where did I sit beside her? I think it was the Black Panther premiere. And she, in turn, was sitting right beside Childish Gambino. So, yeah, and to this day, Anne, her pinned tweet on Anne's Twitter is sat 3 seats down from Donald Glover tonight. It is unofficially our first date. So, but Pom Clemente, if you didn't know, look, she is stunning.
Yeah.
She's a stunning beauty.
After the Mission Impossible footage we saw, I think, move over, Florence.
He's giving me a new picture behind you.
Yeah, I'm
you
gonna
still
get
got-
a new picture behind me. That footage, she looked great.
As the villain, as
Yep.
the badass villain. Yeah, she's awesome. All right, what's next?
From Anonymous, a $20 tip.
Oh,
Thank you so
thank you.
much. Hello, everyone. I'm curious, John, will there still be Guardians of the Galaxy 3 spoiler discussion?
Well,
Okay, as we announced off the
yes.
top of the show, I don't know if you got the thumbnail there already,
course
but
I do.
as we announced off the top of the show today at 2:30 p.m., we are finally getting around to doing our
Yes.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 open spoiler discussion. We hope you guys will come and join us for that. We'll look forward to seeing you there. All right, what's next?
From Illy Johnny, why do you think it is that so many people are engaged with Netflix true crime documentaries, but Mindhunter didn't even
hey, get down there.
muster enough buzz to get one more season to finish the story?
I don't know that Mindhunter, it was a matter of Mindhunter not getting any attention. I think it had decent viewership, but from what I understand, it was also a very expensive show to
Very
make.
expensive. It's a period piece, and documentaries are not nearly as costly.
No, they're super cheap.
And
super cheap.
And believe me, our fellow true crime viewers were watching Mindhunter, but
Yes.
there's not enough of us to fund Mindhunter, whereas we could fund a documentary on John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, I mean, it's, by the way, if you have not seen it, there's a Saturday Night Live sketch called Murder Show. That's a
Yeah.
song. And it's so true because like it's my wife basically, and it's Ray. Sometimes I'll go over to the house and Ray will just be sleeping on the couch, but he'll have like these Dateline murder things on constantly, like 24/7.
Good
Like,
things to sleep to, man.
no wonder you're so paranoid.
Yeah,
Like,
no wonder I have nightmares and I punch in the air.
he does.
I'm like, get off my sister. Oh man, I
got
told you
really
the story.
weird, man.
I told you the story about
got really
when I
awkward.
fell asleep. When I realized it wasn't a good idea to fall asleep to like forensic files. Like I had the worst nightmare. The next day, I went to the security store and I bought my mom and Olive all mace, the little small things of mace, because the nightmare I had during when I left forensic files on was crazy. I was so on my toes the next day, so I stopped falling asleep to that stuff.
Yeah, don't fall asleep to that stuff. All right, what's next?
From Jaden Voss, if you had the ability to pitch a movie or TV show idea to any director of your choosing, who would that director be? And what would your TV show or movie idea be pitching to said director?
No idea. I mean, that's
All
not.
right, next up.
I mean, that's not something I walk around off the top of my head. But I will answer the first part. Obviously, if it's all things being equal world, I mean, I'm the greatest director of all time, Steven Spielberg. I mean, and it doesn't matter what the movie would be about.
Terminal 2.
Terminal 2, baby.
Oh God.
You never get away from me.
But I have no idea what the show would be. That's something I'd have to give a lot of thought and consideration.
I would grab Steven Spielberg and say, "Where's Tintin 2, motherfucker?
Hey, you know what?
Oh yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
you-
Be my Tintin."
That reminded me. You know what's funny? That person wrote in and said, "Hey, I'm gonna watch pinball." We never heard from him again.
Yeah, they was disappointed by it.
I know.
We lost a viewer.
I'm so sad.
Oh no.
All right, what's next?
I'm so sad.
From Garden Variety Vagabond, Tim Burton returns with Jenna Ortega again, first connected with 80s goth legend Christina Ricci, and this time with goth heartthrob Winona Ryder. Hot Topic is a huge sleeper buy now investment tip.
That's pretty good.
She's going to be Winona's daughter. In
Yes,
Beetlejuice.
Jen Ortega is
Yeah.
going to play Winona's daughter,
Okay.
I do
which
fear
we talked
she's
about
getting
yesterday.
typecast, though.
But hey, just
Yeah.
as a quick thing, the other night I couldn't sleep, so I was up. It was like 2 a.m. You know, the night I sent out show notes at like 3:30 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I was up sitting in the living room. I got out of bed, sat in the living room, and was working on my laptop. So I decided to put something on, right? And the recommended movie that came up on the list was one I haven't watched in years. Christina Ricci's Black Snake Moan.
So good.
That is a really underrated movie.
It
Yeah.
is.
I've
That
never
with
even
her
heard of
and
it.
Sam.
You never
it's
seen Black Snake Moan?
No.
her and Christina Ricci and Samuel L. Jackson.
Justin
It's-
Timberlake.
Oh, Justin JT is in it.
No,
That's right.
JT's in it.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it's a really good movie. You should definitely check that out. I'm sorry, this came to mind because you mentioned Christina Ricci. Of course, she is now having a bit of a resurgence herself with Yellow Jackets. So, all right, what's next?
I just love this hair. Come on, pull over, computer.
Oh yeah,
Shot.
that's Samuel Jackson in Black Snake
Yeah.
Moan. All right, what's next?
From Jared Oberfield. True or false? Going to see a movie in theaters is still giving it a fair shot no matter what your expectations are.
No. I would say going to a theater to see a movie is giving a movie a shot, but I think there are a lot of people who go to give a movie a shot but don't give it a fair shot. Like I said this all the time. You need to go to a movie. You're only robbing yourself if when you go to a movie, before you walk through that threshold to walk into the theater, take all your expectations, the good and the bad, and leave it at the door. Just leave them there. Then and only then are you really giving a movie a fair shot. Because I've gone into movies before in my life, back way before I started this new rule for myself, that I have actually a little ceremony, if you will, that I go through. As I'm walking up to a theater, I'm just like, in my head, I'm going, okay, take everything I was thinking this movie would be, wouldn't be, all that kind of stuff, and leave it here. But before that, I would go into a lot of movies going, yeah, I bet this is going to suck. You know, I bet this is going to be terrible and all this kind of thing. So I don't know. So just going is giving it a shot, but it may not be giving it a fair shot. You still got to go through that process of leaving your baggage at the door. And we all have it. So, all right, what's next?
From Chris Parker, 1 of 2. Did you see the clip of Gunn talking about how he wrote the whole backstory of the Infinity Stones in 90 minutes and how everything that followed was based from that? I can't tell if he's joking or not. I had always thought the grand master plan of phases 1 through 3 had been orchestrated by Feige, but perhaps they were flying by the seat of their pants more than we thought.
No, look, it's one thing to have your general overall plan and direction. And then within that are the details. And the details can be put together as you go. They can be mutated a bit. They can change a little bit. It's, do you have your overall structure? We start here. At some point we get here. As we set up towards the end, we get here, and then we end here. And then within the middle of that, there can be a lot of variation, a lot of little things you change, as long as you got your overall plan. Writing the back history of the Infinity Stones, that would count as details, like within the story, right? What you needed to have is the Avengers form. The ultimate bad guy is going to be Thanos. He's going to use the Infinity Gauntlet to wipe out half of humanity. It's going to be about the Avengers trying to get it all back. And within the middle of that, there's a lot of room to still play and make some adjustments and make some twists and turns, just like there would have been for Star Wars. But then you watch the Star Wars sequels and you realize they had no plan whatsoever. They had no idea where they're going. But listen, it's also not, there's this belief that, hey, if you're going to write a screenplay, it's going to take 4 years to do it. Yeah, for some writers, it will do that if it's a passion project. But also don't forget that, you know, a movie that most people seem to really like, Cabin in the Woods. Remember that one? Mm-hmm. Joss Whedon wrote that in a weekend. He taught him and the guy who ultimately directed the film. They literally got together in a weekend and wrote the script. I'm sure they finessed it and did some revisions to it over, but they wrote the thing in a weekend. They wrote the whole script in a weekend. So I'm not surprised at all to hear that James Gunn say that. Yeah, the basic backstory of the Infinity Stones wrote in like 90 minutes. I could totally see that. All right, what's next?
From Erwin, 1 of 2. Hi, John Campea, the crew. There has been some speculation that Universal will try to acquire Warner Brothers next year. What are the odds of Universal using their Marvel theme park rights in Florida as a bargaining chip with Disney so that they won't put up much of a fight regarding this merger? And the second part, there we go. He actually congratulated Universal in the earnings call yesterday. Universal could easily retheme their Marvel Superhero Island to DC Superhero Island if they were to buy WB. Wonder what your thoughts are. Love the show and greetings from the Netherlands.
Nobody cares if Disney would have opposition to it or not. It would be irrelevant. The only thing that would cause a problem, there were 2 things that would cause a problem in a roadblock if Universal wanted to try to acquire Warner Brothers. One is the sheer ridiculous amount of money it would cost for them to do it. Which, hey, you know, Disney might be paying them $9 billion here soon. That adds a little extra padding to the wallet if they wanted to. But the cost of it would be very, very prohibitive. The other problem would be the FTC. It's not going to be Disney. Nobody cares about what Disney would think about these 2 other companies merging. Just like Disney didn't care what Universal's thoughts were or Paramount's thoughts were or Lionsgate's thoughts were when they were acquiring Fox. It doesn't matter. All it comes down to is, you know, the governing bodies and whether they're going to allow it or whether they'd see it as forming some kind of a monopoly. Which I don't think they would if Universal wanted to try to buy Warner Brothers. I don't think it's going to happen. I just think it looks like Warner Brothers Discovery is playing the long game right now. It does not look in any way. There was a lot of speculation at first when they took it over that they were going to treat it like a fixer-upper. They were going to buy it, fix a couple of the problems with it, and then try to turn it over and sell it, do a house flip with it, sell it for a little bit more money what they got for. But everything we've seen them doing seems like they're in it more for the long game. And I think the amount of money Universal would have to pull together to make it attractive for them to sell is kind of beyond what they're going to be capable of doing right now. So I don't think it's true. You never know, though. We'll have to see what happens. All right, what's next?
From Kinda Irish Boston Guy. With AI being a prime concern for the writer's strike, a new segment talking about the negative impact of AI on audiobook narrators posted yesterday. Is there any creative profession that will not be impacted by AI?
First of all, can I say this? There are a lot of people right now who are way overestimating what AI can do with writing right now. Mm-hmm. AI writing right now is objectively terrible. Like, it's awful. Now, it's remarkable that it can do what it can even do. But like, I see a lot of these people who don't actually understand things on just get AI to write the scripts. You don't get it. It's really, really awful. It's terrible. Now, can it get to a point that it becomes a hell of a lot more sophisticated? Sure, it can. And that's scary. What creative endeavor could AI not threaten? I'm going to say editing. Like, there's already AI tools that can help you edit something, but it's such rudimentary editing. Like, editing is not a mathematical equation. Editing is very much finesse and art. Mm-hmm. And so I think editing is something that you can never do without an editor. I don't think that can ever be done. Direction is obviously something that can never be touched. I don't know, but there are a few things that are always going to come down to the human intuition and stuff like that you just can't. And honestly, I think writing is one of those. If you need something to write up a bullet point list of timeline of how the Foxx merger went down with Disney, yeah, AI can absolutely do that. Write a compelling conversation between a father and son where the father had a drug addiction when he was 16 and he's now dealing with his own 14-year-old son who's addicted to drugs. Go. It's just garbage that it kind of writes. And I know because I've tried a couple of them, and it's just awful what they write. So, but hey, we might get there. But Chris, can you see AI? I mean, I also don't think acting it can really.
No, well, I mean, the big first thing is one of the reasons why you leave breath in voiceover is because it takes you out of the uncanny valley. If you don't have any breath in there, you sound like a robot. And that's one of the big tells of AI voicing stuff is no one breathes. That's really weird and uncomfortable. You also miss the nuance of human emotion. Is it possible that we could get to a place where this is something that could maybe be passable? Sure. This is also why it's really, really important for voice actors to really look at their contracts. So many voice actors have had, the wool pulled over their eyes because they'll sign these contracts that allow to use their voices in perpetuity in any way, shape, or form, so they can gobbledygook up your voice and use that and chop it up into different ways to say things. That still sounds really off. It sounds like the devil's speaking spell where you're just like, and this person is going to do this. Yeah. But they still could use your voice for things that you didn't sign off on, or so you thought. So you just need to be vigilant about your contracts. And I think at the end of the day, we really prefer human interaction, how humans sound, and the emotional nuance that people can bring to things.
All right. What's next?
From Boomstick Trish. Nothing makes me happier than Warner Brothers begrudgingly putting Evil Dead Rise in theaters instead of Max, and it then making $100+ million. It was packed opening night and most fun I've had in a theater post-pandemic. Shout out to all of my fellow Deadites, best fans ever.
Well, first of all, again, it wasn't actually begrudgingly. It was remember, that movie went into production under the old leadership of Warner Brothers. And that's what they had it destined for streaming. It was under the new leadership of Warner Brothers, then looked at that film that was supposed to go straight to Max and go, this is really good. We should put this in theaters. And yeah, it's a great victory story for them. That movie came out, cleared over $100 million in box office, which is $100 million more than it would have made before. And then it gets even more attention now that it's going to streaming because of the theatrical run that it had. It's a great, great feel-good kind of win story for them. All right, what's next?
From Joe Starr. Hey, John, I'm seeing Les Miserables at Sacred Storm in Costa Mesa in September.
Nice.
Oh, that theater's wonderful. It's my mom's favorite musical, and her dream is to see it live. We bought the season, which is worth it to go to 9 plays. I know it's your favorite play. What is your favorite scene and song? Les
Miserables is my all-time favorite musical. I mean, even don't get me wrong, I love Hamilton. I love the Lion King live show. I love a lot of them, but Les Mis is a powerful, it's a spiritually moving production. I mean, it changes you in a lot of ways when you watch it. My favorite musical scene in it is probably the confrontation between Jean Valjean and Javert. When Javert discovers that Jean Valjean, the mayor of the town, is actually 24601. He's actually the prisoner that escaped so many years earlier from Javert. Javert is this lawman, and there's this basic sing-off between them as they're confronting each other. And Jean Valjean Javert is there to arrest Jean Valjean. Jean Valjean just had this poor woman die in his arms, and he made a promise to her that he would go and find her daughter that she was trying to support. He would go and find her daughter, Cosette, and raise her as his own. And then Javert comes along and says, no, you're coming with me to prison. And basically Jean Valjean is saying, listen, you let me go and rescue this girl and save this girl, and I promise I will turn myself over to you later. And he sings this line, this line, and I know none of you care about it, but I don't care. But Jean Valjean says this line to him, and he's singing the line. He says, "I am warning you, Javert. I am the stronger man by far. There is power in me yet, and my race is not yet run." And I get shivers whenever I think about that song. Like it's so powerful and strong. And then, of course, there's the song at the wall. Who will join in our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me? Somewhere beyond the barricade is there a world we long to see. You know, it's the whole guys. If you've never actually seen the musical version of Les Mis, a proper musical version of it, it may not look like it's your kind of thing, but I think it can appeal to everyone. It's just so damn good. Anyway, all right, I've gone on that. Is there any more? Is that it?
That's it.
And guys, that'll do it for today's episode of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all of you guys who sent in those tip questions. Number one, because it gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys so much for your support. Once again, guys, don't forget, a little bit later this afternoon at 2:30 p.m., about 2.5 hours from now, we're going to be doing our Guardians of the Galaxy open spoiler discussion. You want to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy? Come on by. We can talk about it in a full, open, spoilery kind of way. We'll look forward to seeing you guys then. And of course, don't forget to come back and join us again tomorrow for the next episode of the John Campea Show. So, for everybody in the room, Ray, Jen, Jonathan, Chris, myself, John Campea, thanks a lot for being here, guys. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.